1-year sentence with my daughter. My life had just come crashing down. I remember sitting right here, right after I got in, just knowing that I was innocent and how much I wanted a second chance to belong to the society, to be part of a family, and to get my freedom back. It's pretty emotional, just the memories of what this was. This was home for us. When I came into prison, I was surprised to learn that these women were not the criminals I expected to find. Over and over, I saw women who were caught up in very tough situations. They didn't have economic opportunities, and they had to be in the streets trying to get something to take back home. They were really crying for another way to have a decent means of livelihood. That's all they wanted for themselves and for their children. In return, they got the sentences. And as the months passed by, I made a resolve that when I am done with my sentence, I will do something about it. All that together is what pushed me to set up Clean Start, to bring solutions into the criminalization of poverty. The vision we have at Clean Start is to empower those who sometimes we forget about. It's not just lock them up, forget them. Let's give these people opportunities, internships. Let's offer them employment, jobs. Let them participate as a full citizen of the society. Amazing. Good to hear that.
When the Clean Start program came, I was yearning to have a new beginning. When I came into prison, I was like a tree that was blossoming, but all of a sudden it has been cut. You feel like you're not going to produce again. But there is hope for a tree that has been cut.
Life makes you to be crushed so that the best of you can come out, and when people drink of what have come out of you, they get the sweetness.
Clean Start came to remind me that there's a life that you have to live. And watered me again.
It's truly, really powerful to see the very women who we've invested in be the united voice saying, post-imprisonment, there's life. We're seeing a systemic change right there. As much as it was unfair to be wrongfully imprisoned, I find it a blessing in disguise now, because this detour opened my eyes to a life that I would never have thought about. I jump out of bed every day thinking about these women and remembering the children who are out in the streets, whose parents are incarcerated, who are longing for an opportunity to build their lives. To this date, I still see a generation ahead that will get to live in a time where justice is equal for all. It's time we woke up to ourselves. What's my role to play to make things better? We deserve second chances. We're people too. We're people too.
tujenge taifa letu.
Every year on 11th of October, the International Day of the Girl, UNICEF launches an annual campaign with girls to amplify their voices for their rights. In 2020, under the theme My Voice, Our Equal Future, is our chance to reimagine a better world inspired by girls who are energized, recognized, counted, and
Nyamazeni.
Every year on 11th of October, the International Day of the Girl, UNICEF launches an annual campaign with girls to amplify their voices for their rights. In 2020, under the theme My Voice, Our Equal Future, is our chance to reimagine a better world inspired by girls who are energized, recognized, counted, and invested in. As girls assert their power as makers, the International Day of the Girl 2020 will focus on their demands to live free from gender-based violence,
harmful practices, HIV/AIDS, learn new skills towards the future, and accelerate social change. At Clean Start, we are celebrating our girls in the juvenile justice system and those who have exited it. Through the 2020 theme, My Voice, Our Equal Future, we hope to bring to light their experiences, the inequalities they face, and the equal future they aspire and demand. The pertinent issues in the juvenile justice system in Kenya are access to equitable and quality education, negative family dynamics that leave girls as victims of the dysfunction, lack of access to sexual and reproductive health rights and services, gender-based violence in the form of child marriages, physical punishment, sexual, emotional, or psychological violence. Diana is a 17-year-old secondary school student. She is in Form 2. Being at the Goreti Girls Rehabilitation School under care and protection denied her 1 year of education and she fell behind. 2 years ago, after emerging the best student at the institution in the national examination, Clean Start supported her to enroll to a secondary school on the outside. We also support her family with school fees. She aspires to be a newscaster. Diana urges other girls to have self-control, to be wise, knowing that their lives and decisions are in their own hands.
Unajua unaweza mwadvise maisha ni yake ameshika hivi na unaweza
Maybe we'll hand the meeting over to Jennifer because apparently I'm unable to share the video nicely and correctly. Yeah, so maybe Jennifer can take over.
Okay, all right. Okay. So sorry about that. We were meant to play a beautiful video to start us off, but we could play that later. Thank you so very much to all those who have joined us for this webinar. Those who've joined us via Zoom, those who have joined us on Facebook Live, and all the other media channels that this is being live streamed and broadcasted. We sincerely thank you for joining us to celebrate this International Day of the Girl Child 2020. My name is Teresa Njoroge, and I'm the founder and CEO of Clean Start. Clean Start Solutions is a social enterprise which focuses on transforming the lives of marginalized, poor, imprisoned, and formerly imprisoned women and their children. We are your hosts this afternoon as we celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child, and we are very pleased to be joined by revolutionaries in this field who will form our panel discussions, and our moderator for the day, Jennifer. And I will get on to introducing our panelists so that we could get started with the discussions and to celebrate. Sincere apologies, we're still sorting one of our panelists who will be joining us shortly. So Wamboi Kahara. She'll be joining us in a short while. And before I get there, I'd like to give, oh, Wamboi is already here. Karibu sana Wamboi. So sorry about that hitch. We're just getting started. It's good to have you with us. As you all may be aware, the International Day of the Girl Child is a United Nations initiative, which was inaugurated to promote and protect the rights of girls around the world. This year's theme is My Voice, Our Equal Future. And we're here to seize that opportunity to reimagine a better world inspired by these adolescent girls, energized, recognized, counted, and invested in. This day is marked by efforts both to raise awareness and to offer opportunities to girls and young women, addressing issues like education, healthcare rights, protection, career, and much more. During this COVID-19 pandemic, here in Kenya, girls have been at risk of sexual exploitation, leading to 4,000 plus girls getting pregnant before their time. The early pregnancies are a precursor to early marriages, contraction of sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV and AIDS, and an end of pursuit of education for these girls. For us here at Clean Start, we put emphasis and focus on the unseen, unheard girls and young women who are impacted by the justice system. I'd like to take just 1 minute to remember the young women who are in our prisons, and in particular, those who have left their children behind while they are off serving sentences that we all very well know that they could have been serving non-custodial sentences. And the children left on the outside who are victims of crimes they did not commit, left on their own. Clean Start's mission is to restore the dignity and hope of women, girls, and children who are impacted by the criminal justice system. We're currently working in 5 prisons: Langata, Thika, Machakos, Murang'a, and Nyeri. We also work with girls and have worked with girls who are under Kenya Prison Service at the Kamae Girls Boston Institution, and also girls who are under the Children Department Service, who are held within our rehabilitation schools. We work very closely with the Dagoretti Rehabilitation School. Since 2017, we have had the opportunity to invest in 61 girls, 21 of them from Kamai Boston Girls, and 40 from Dagoretti Rehabilitation School. We're currently collaboratively sponsoring 16 girls in the mainstream education and 20 others on the outside. At Clean Start, we stand on many shoulders, for we too are women who have been impacted by the criminal justice system with our own lived experiences. And it gives me due pleasure to represent our younger sisters who are impacted by the justice system. I'd like to appreciate Honorable Mary Kaemba, Director, Rehabilitation Kenya Prisons, who through her permission has enabled Clean Start to partner with Kenya Prison Service in rehabilitation, and most importantly, when their sentences are done and those prison gates open, to journey with them in their transition and reintegration journey. I would also like to sincerely thank the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, whom we have partnered with for 2 years now in the program Preventing Violent Extremism through Rehabilitation, Vocational Training, and Social Reintegration in Correctional Facilities here in Kenya. It is through the UNODC's Regional Office of East Africa that we have been able to partner with them and the Department of Children's Service, and therefore work with young girls at Dagoretti Rehabilitation School. And through the partnership with Honorable Madam Kaemba and Madam Justina Mwangombe, we were able to then impact on girls who are held at the Kamai Girls Boston institutions. We would also like to thank all our partners, all our funders, donors and supporters, and individuals, and the many others whose shoulders we stand on today to elevate the voice of this girl who is caught up within the juvenile justice system. Today, we have the honor of being joined by amazing panelists, revolutionaries, as I said, in their own right. And they'll share more light on who this girl is, what her needs are, the existing gaps within the juvenile justice system, and how we can join forces to make her life better. As Ban Ki-moon quoted, investing in girls is a moral imperative, a matter of basic justice and equality. There are more than 1.1 billion girls worldwide with great potential, and this day serves as a reminder on the need to highlight, advance her rights and opportunities for girls across the world. May she be seen, may she be heard through this panel. And to my able panelists, I will start by introducing Ms. Wambui Kahara. Wambui Kahara is the UNODC Regional Youth Advisor for Eastern Africa. She has served as Kenya's youth representative to the United Nations appointed by the Kenya government. She established the United Nations Youth Delegates Program in Kenya and was one of the coordinators of the UN Joint Program on Youth. She also has professional experience in program management at the UNDP, UN Environment, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. Wambui has been part of the Kenya government delegation to the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly in New York since 2012 through to 2018, where her speeches have been endorsed by numerous standing ovations. Wambui has represented Kenya in many international forums, including the UN Commission on Social Development. She was also the official youth delegate to Rio+20 UN Conference on Sustainable Development, Rio, Brazil, June 2012, where she mobilized youth delegates from all over the world to support Kenya's resolution to upgrade UNEP in Nairobi. She represented the First Lady of Kenya in the Women Leaders Forum, Yale Club of New York, October 2012. As a representative of Africa Youth, she represented Kenya at the UNECA Conference on Climate Change in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, 2016, among others. It gives us great pleasure to have you, Wambui, and the partnerships that we've held together to invest in these girls. Welcome. Second, I'd like to introduce Superintendent of Prisons, Justina Wawasi Mwangombe, Mrs. She's a public servant working for Kenya Prison Service, and she's currently the officer in charge of Busia Women Prison, a women institution that holds women and children who accompanies their mothers in prison, who are aged between 0 to 4 years. She has previously worked in similar institutions in Eastern Region at Machakos Women Prison. Her first appointment as the commander of prison facility was at the Kamai Girls Boston Institution, which is the only girls juvenile correction facility under Kenya prisons. It holds girls aged between 15 years and below 18 years on admission. SP Justina will tell us more about the mandate of this institution. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics and currently is finalizing on her master's economics degree in policy and management option at the Kenyatta University. She has 15 years of service as a correction officer here in Kenya, with 2 years experience in peacekeeping operations as a correction advisor and mentor and trainer at the DR Congo MONUSCO Field Mission. Her main duties at the UN mission were advisory, training, and mentorship programs for national correctional staff, Congolese, and stakeholders within the criminal justice system. Her experience in juvenile correction, child protection, and best interest of the child in women prisons gives her diverse experience to take us through what is best for the girls who are impacted by the criminal justice system. At an international level, she sits as a practitioner or caucus under the umbrella institution called International Institute for Juvenile and Rule of Law, IIJ, based in Malta, Europe, where she is recognized as a detention expert to provide input on the treatment of juveniles in counterterrorism context. It's with due pleasure that we welcome you, Madam Justina. We look forward to your wise expertise. I'd like to invite and introduce Mr. Samuel Munyuini, who's the only man on the panel. It takes all of us. We sincerely appreciate your taking time to be with us. Mr. Munyuini is a founder and current CEO of the African Institute for Children's Studies, AICS. AICS is a Pan-African child rights and welfare advocacy organization that has other offices in Uganda, Zimbabwe, South Sudan, Switzerland, and the USA. The organization has a pool drawn from academia and practitioners across Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Samuel has led teams in providing technical advisory services in policy and program quality assurance and quality improvement in multiple countries in Africa. This includes thematic areas of child justice, mental health, adolescent and sexual reproductive health, child online safety, substance use prevention, education, and youth empowerment. He has been instrumental in advocacy for legislative reforms, improvement, knowledge management, and strengthening the role of civil societies in promoting child well-being across Africa. We sincerely appreciate your efforts, Samuel. I'd now like to introduce Angie Maina Mrs., the executive director of a local Kenyan NGO called Green String Network, GSN, which is based here in Nairobi, Kenya. GSN's programs create opportunities for people currently in Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia at the most local level to learn about the effects of trauma, begin to heal, and come together as a community to plan community-wide activities and structures to support further healing and reconciliation. In practice, this involves developing context that is specific materials which are designed to teach community participants about the effects of trauma and provide a safe environment for them to share how violence impacts their own lives. Karibu sana, Angie Maina Mrs. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Jennifer Kaberi will be our day's moderator for this webinar. She's an experienced child development specialist, an international development work professional, and passionate for children. Her vision is to transform Africa's story through empowering children to speak for themselves, offer data-driven solutions and technology that is Afrocentric. She believes that this will result in a positive outcome in Africa that touches not only socioeconomic development, but also humanity. She has over 10 years experience in the children's sector that has exposed her to correlation between child development process and the outcome in adulthood. She has specialty skills in child development that includes vulnerable children, child protection, child advocacy, early childhood development, child mental health, management of children projects, and social protection. She is the CEO of Mtoto News. Karibu, Jennifer, and we are so grateful that you accepted to be the moderator of this session. Madam Clara Kirui is the Principal Children's Officer, who's currently the Principal Children's Officer serving as the Children Officer of Dagoretti Girls Rehabilitation School since 2014. We have closely worked with her to impact and journey with the girls held at the Dagoretti Rehabilitation School, and her duties are the overall management of Dagoretti Rehabilitation School, networking and collaboration with the stakeholders. She also is in charge of the implementation of government programs in the best interest of these girls. I'd now like to hand over to Jennifer, who will moderate this session and take us through the discussion. Karibuni sana, looking forward to your insights.
Thank you so much. I am not sure if I'm being heard.
We can hear you.
Okay, let me put my earphones back. Thank you so much, Teresa. You know, you're one of those women I follow, and your work is so admirable, and your story is one of those stories that you read and you get hope. What you have turned Clean Start to be a hope for so many young women and girls across Africa, across Kenya, and I'm just praying across Africa very soon, Teresa. And and for me, I remember when the Clean Start team called me, I asked, I hope girls are going to participate in the conversation. And Teresa, I've not seen any girls being announced. We don't have any girls guests.
Actually, our chief guest is one of the girls who we have journeyed with from one of the statutory institutions, and she will be joining us in the course of the webinar. There have been some few challenges for them joining in, but very soon she'll be having conversations with us. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I thought you had forgotten about her, because I know I was told she is going to be part of this conversation. So I'm going straight into the questions, and my first question will go to Madam Justina Mwagombe. So we've heard about juvenile justice, girls, but from your experience working in this particular situation and in this state, who are the girls impacted by the juvenile justice system? Like, what categories of girls? Just help us to understand who are committed under the Kenya prisons, at the postal institution, the Department of Children's Services institutions. Can you give us like different categories of these girls who are in the juvenile justice system because of one way or the other? And as you're touching that, I think the other thing we need to touch is contact with the law, the difference between contact and those ones who are in the system.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Jennifer, for this opportunity, and Clean Start for inviting me for this webinar. I'm privileged to talk about our work as Kenya Prison Service in relation to children. Kenya Prison Service is a correctional service. Together with the probation services, we provide, unlike the probation services, for Kenya Prison Service, we provide safe custody because our work is purely custodial, based on rehabilitation, reintegration, the facilitation of administration of justice as in our mandate. But in matters relating to children, Kenya Prison Service, we are guided by the UN Standard Minimum Rules, Rule 11, about the separation of young offenders from the adults. So the Kenya Prison Service hosts the Boston institutions and the Youth Corrective Training Centers. We have 3 Boston institutions and we have 1 YCTC, the Youth Corrective Training Center. The difference is that in our Boston institutions, we have youthful offenders, including the girls who are aged between 15 and below 18 years on admission. And they stay for 3 years, purely training. They don't come, they are not committed with a committal warrant because we treat them as children who require correction, and they come for training more than serve sentences, as in punishment. So we say that such children, when they come to us, we actually provide them with training for the 3 years. For those who come in having formal education, we allow them to continue because for Kamai Girls Boston, now that you're talking about the girl child, we have the formal education where we have primary and secondary education, and we are fully supported by the Ministry of Education. We also have the technical part for those who come in without the formal literacy. So we engage them in our technical school where they are examined by NITA, the National Industrial Training Authority. So we offer hairdressing, dressmaking, because as is stipulated in the Convention on the Right of the Child, that a child has a right to education, we ensure that as Kenya Prison Service and in our Boston institution, the girls get education at whatever level. So for us, according to Kenya Prison Service, the youthful offenders are in that class, the 15 and below 18 years. And then for those who are in the Youth Corrective Training Center, we have only for boys, so I don't want to divulge more into that. We have those children aged between 17 to 21 years. But to Kenya Prison Service, children in conflict with the law include only those aged between 15 to 8 and below 18 years on admission, coming for 3 years straight.
Thank you so much. So you've said you take care of the Boston institutions and
yes,
like the Kamai, and there the girls actually get education. So my next question, Madam, as you're going there, can you? Oh, sorry, my computer is. So my next question is, can you understand why do these girls find themselves in your care? Why? What are some of the reasons?
Okay, the mandate of the Boston institution is in Chapter 92 Laws of Kenya. It's called the Boston Institutions Act. So for Boston institutions, unlike the probation hostels and the children facilities, the facilities under the department, the children department, for us, we only admit children who have committed criminal offenses. So unlike the other facilities who also take in the children in need of care and protection and whatever, for us, we go for the children who have committed criminal offenses. And in such, we have several other reasons why they come or they find themselves in the Boston Street. There are those who are committed because of stealing. We have manslaughter, we have possession of narcotic drugs, grievous harm, assault, arson, housebreaking and stealing by servant, among other criminal offenses. So those are the offenses which are admissible in our Boston institutions. Why? Because even when you read the Convention on the Right of the Child, it says that the detention of the children or the deprivation of their liberty, it should be the last resort. So I think we only take in children who have continuously what we call the delinquents, the juvenile delinquents, the juveniles who have committed offenses for several times and have been in hostels, in the other institutions, by other facilities, and we take them in as the last resort, because in our facilities, the period is longer, like 3 years, and also the kind of security that we offer is higher. So for us to avoid that scenario where children are detained and they maybe are affected in a way, the law allows only those children who have committed criminal offenses, not any other child. So we are limited to that.
Thank you so much, Madam Justina. So I'm going to pose the same question to Madam Clara. I know you work with Department of Children's Services. So could you just tell us who are some of these girls that find under your care in one of those institutions? What type of girls and why do they find themselves in your care, Madam Clara?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So under the Department of Children's Services, we receive girls who are between the age of 10 to 17 years. These are girls who are either who have been in contact or in conflict with law. So we admit both children who are in need of care and protection and children in conflict with law. These are children maybe who are committed of petty offenses like stealing, assault, use of drug and substance abuse. Those are the categories we receive from, and the ages ranges between 10 to 17 years. So under the Department of Children's Services, we only have 2 rehabilitation centers. That is Kirigiti and Dagoretti. So when the girls are apprehended, they are passed through the remand homes. They go to Kirigiti, where they are assessed and placed accordingly to either Kirigiti or Dagoretti.
Thank you, Madam Clara. You know, you and Madam Justina, you keep on saying conflict, contact. So children in need of care and protection. I'm thinking, I'm watching this video 2 months from now, and probably I just want to understand what do these terms actually mean. So for someone who is listening to this and is not very conversant with these terms, what does, like, for example, children in conflict with the law, children in contact with the law, children in need of care and protection, what does that mean? Madam Clara?
I believe, yes, the children in contact with law, I believe these are the children who are offended, and those who are in conflict with law are the offenders. Those who are found, like the children who are in conflict with law are normally found victims of circumstances when there is an offense committed. And for the offenders, they commit the offense as children.
Madam Justina, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in support of what she's saying. For us as an institution, we avoid calling them child offenders or prisoners, and we prefer calling our Boston girls and boys children in conflict with the law. So we refer to them like that because we believe that for children, it's most of the time they are victims of the circumstances. And sometimes when we use them on them, they actually affect them psychologically, like calling them prisoners, calling them offenders might not augur well with their status as children. So we refer to them as children in conflict with the law.
Thank you so much, Madam Justina. Sam Unyuinyi, as you come in, as you also just tell us a little bit about yourself, I want you to expand, because I know you have done some work around juvenile justice system. You're part of a task force on children in conflict with the law. Are you able to please expound to us? I'm just thinking of someone who is watching this 2 months from now, or probably they've been watching right now, and they do not understand these terms clearly. And from a social scientist perspective, what do these terms mean? As you answer that, do you think the juvenile justice system is the best place for girls to be, to prevent them from ending? Do you think that is the best place for girls to be? Sam?
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, and our colleagues in this call, and Clean Start for inviting us into this. I think this is a very important conversation. Just to build on what Madam Justina and Clara have mentioned, indeed, children come into the justice system. It could be in 3 ways. So one, they will come in as witnesses. So there are children who come in maybe because there's a case, either they need of care and protection or that involves them or in conflict with the law. Then there are children who come in because they have been aggrieved, like Madam Justina and Clara have mentioned. There are also children who may require a special care arrangement, but as part of protecting them, in the cases of foster care, adoption, they'll still go through the justice system. So that's the group that we are calling children in need of care and protection. So I think appreciating those three categories then really brings in the importance of also asking ourselves, how do you manage them? And I believe in this conversation that will come up. Sometimes we've put them together and you can imagine the trauma that can come out of that. I may touch on that a bit more as I talk about should girls, or any child for that matter. Again, building on, I think Madam Justina mentioned this earlier on, it is very clear within the law and within the policy framework that, getting children, denying them their freedom, so to say, to enjoy their rights, should be a matter of last resort. And the other very important thing that any child should grow up within a family setting. So with those appreciation, then it is clear that the answer is no, that we should never think about putting any child within a justice process, especially that requires institutionalization. And this is, of course, because of the risks that are inherent in such a process. So one, I think quickly I can categorize them around three, and part of this is also from consultation with stakeholders that we've done. And Jennifer, like we rightfully put it, some of these have been worked through the NCAJ, the National Council for Administration of Justice, the Special Task Force on Children, chaired by Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, and some of the work we are doing right now with the Makadara Court Users Committee. So in this work, we've identified risks around arrest at the point, in fact, pre-arrest, the things that happen in the community, and we begin labeling children, especially girls. I think there's a whole of expectation of how we should behave that the society puts on us and quickly labels us, especially for girls. A bit more tougher, I would say, than boys when we do some things. So there are risks around how the community will treat us. And the moment you're labeled as this bad girl, so to say, then there are a number of child protection rights that then sort of get denied and almost accepted at the community level. Then during the arrests, there are a number of risks that happen. We've had girls who've been put in the big lorry. There's a whole question around transportation. Who do they get mixed up with? And we've had girls who've been sexually abused while in police cells, unfortunately. And then during the temporary custody that is supposed to be, and unfortunately, even as a task force, when we went round, we still found children who had been in police cells for over 6 months, when we know clearly the law doesn't expect anyone to be put beyond 24 hours, and even a shorter period for children. Then during the trial, some of these challenges that come in with exposure to having to recant or repeat your evidence, and thank God we are now moving more into admitting even video evidence, so that I don't have to keep repeating. Imagine if I've gone through a sexual exploitation and I have to keep meeting the person. So the improvement and bringing in other modes of doing trial and even post-trial. And here I want to mention specifically caregivers. When children go through long-term care and I've stayed there for 4 or 5 years and I'm being led to go out, then all those questions come in on how do you support me to even reintegrate, the stigma that comes with that. And lastly, I also want to touch on the other rights that they are denied when they're in such a situation. Lack of education, a lot of girls will drop out completely because our system, unfortunately, does not have that. Things like sanitary pads, unfortunately, you still find that they have to be provided by non-governmental funding. So these are major risks, and you know how it is. For a child, such impact is very, very long term. It stays with them to their families and the next generation. So briefly, that is a major reason why you can't keep them there.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm going to go to Wamboi. I've heard you worked with girls, you're a youth advocate, and my question to you is, the juvenile justice system, is that the right place for these girls? And what can we do to prevent them from ending up in the system? Like, what are some of the things that you can do as, like, you work with the UNODC, like, even as your own, what other programs or initiatives can we do to ensure that these girls don't end up in the system?
Thank you very much. I think we've got some very good insights from other panelists. So first, the juvenile system is not the right place for young girls and children in conflict with the law. This means that they shouldn't end up there from the start. So it means that we have either failed as a society, or it means that the environment that they have been put in has probably created opportunities for them to get into crime. So what I'm talking about is, for example, if we look at the statistics of girls who have ended up in the criminal justice system, one of the things that has come out very clearly is most of them come from dysfunctional families. And this means either they come from single mothers or they're being raised by single fathers. And this environment creates a situation where these girls are very vulnerable. Second thing is there are many push factors to these girls ending up into crime or ending up in the criminal justice system. And they could be issues around poverty, issues around socioeconomic exclusion, especially in environments where they come from. There could be issues around peer pressure as well. So these are some of the push factors that we have seen push girls really to get into crime, to get into violent extremism, and even sometimes get into drugs. The other thing is the role of a society. We're talking about dysfunctional families, and this is at the family level. But what is the role of a community in terms of contributing toward how these young women grow up in the society? What is the role of the schools? What is the role of a church? What is the role of a civil society? And what is the role of even the government and also the private sector organizations? So we need a situation where we are all coming together as a society to create an environment where these girls can have their capacity built in a way that they're resilient to crime, violence, and also make them understand that getting into the criminal justice system is not their goal in life. Another thing that I think we have seen more often is the issue of stigma, still from the society point of it. We have seen girls, we've worked very closely with Clean Start, with the private sector, KEPSA, and of course with the government as well, the Ministry of Labor and Social Services. But one of the things that we have seen, even when these girls exit from the criminal justice system, even from the rehabilitation homes, is that most of them face stigma, even when it comes to them being placed into the schools. Because the stigma around, you don't want your child to be maybe interacting with a former child who had been initially been placed in the rehabilitation homes. So this stigma, and I think one of the panelists also mentioned this, also pushes girls to go back or find a safe space where they feel that they've been accepted. And unfortunately, the places where these girls are being accepted are maybe in gangs or even in terrorist groups, or even in friends or in friendships where it's really pushing them towards the wrong agenda. So the other thing that we think can be done in terms of preventing these girls from getting into the criminal justice system is education. Because when you empower a child, you open up their mind and they can be able to make the right decisions. And not just education, but we're also talking about life skills, because life skills provides this skills for children in conflict with the law, and of course for youth, that will enable them to be less vulnerable when it comes to crime. So these are some of the issues that we have seen in terms of push factors, especially when it comes to girls who are getting every day getting into some of these crimes. But is a juvenile system the best place, really? So juvenile centers have played a significant role in terms of rehabilitation. There are programs that have been going on, and I think Madame has spoken about it, some of the programs that are going on. But the issue really is not just rehabilitation, but what happens next? What happens after they leave maybe the rehabilitation homes? Are they able to properly reintegrate back to the community? And do they have the right skills to enable them to really, integrate well in a way that they will be able to interact with the society, which is always evolving? So that is the question and the challenge that I think we've had for a long time. How do we integrate these girls back to the community? How do we give them the skills and the education that they need, so that when they exit, they can use these skills and this education to make something out of their lives? So this is where the big challenge has been. And we can see more and more girls being rehabilitated, yes, but they go back to an environment which is not conducive, an environment that will, push them to relapse back into crime. So this is some of the issues and some of the challenges that we're having when it comes to the girls integrating back to the community. Over to you.
Thank you, Amboy. Talking of girls who have been affected, we have one of the girls who has actually gone through the system, and I'm going to invite Teresa to just do a short intro before she answers the next question. Teresa?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so very much. We're loving the discussions to our panelists. You're keeping it real and rich, which is informing us, especially the attendees who have not previously interacted with the juvenile justice system. Thank you. We have our chief guest now, one of the girls who has been impacted by the juvenile justice system. I will call her Susan for purposes of protecting her. She's an outspoken girl. She still has dreams of becoming a journalist. And during her stay at the statutory institution where we worked with her in partnership with the UNODC and the Department of Children's Service, she undertook an attitudinal mindset shift program that equipped her with skills that saw her participate in national children forums. Unfortunately, due to the lack of provision of quality education within the juvenile justice institutions, an issue that has come up, most girls experience a delay, which upon exit finds them way older than their classmates in the mainstream education when they leave the statutory institutions. Susan describes her coming out of the institution as a joy, and she calls it a relief of her pain. The reconnection with her family has been amazing, and she has been welcomed well. She's visited by her aunt in school, where we have managed to take her through collaborative partnerships, who lives near her school. And her performance in school, well, it's been above average. She's exhibited continual improvement in her academics since she moved back into the mainstream education. And just like other girls on the outside, she still needs mentorship, especially now when schools have closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, since she has been unable to attend the online classes. Her school as well does not offer the online classes. So while we've been interacting with her, we've observed that she has a beautiful relationship with her family and she takes good care of her siblings as she's the firstborn. She's now in class 7 in a reputable school in this country. And we really do wish her all the best and are very glad that she was able to join us for this conversation. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for that introduction. Susan, I know you have been through the system, and it's a good thing for me. I believe in the voices of children, and I believe that children need to speak for themselves. And so I'm going to ask you this question. So I've already asked these questions to Sam and Wamboi, but I'm going to ask it to you as someone who has gone through the system. Do you think, as a child who has gone through the system, is a juvenile justice the right place for girls like as yourself to be? And how can we do? What can be done to prevent your friends or your colleagues or your peers from ending in the system as you had? Susan?
Yes.
Susan, umenisikia?
Yeah, nimekusikia.
Haya. Sasa nauliza
yes.
Uko kwenda kwa juvenile kwa system ni mzuri kweli?
Hapana, si mzuri.
Ni nini inaweza kufanyika ndio watoto kama wewe wasiende kwa system? Nini watu wanaweza kufanya?
What the people can do is the parents to protect their kids and to make good relationship with the kids, so that the kids, they may know that our parents loves us and wanafaa walipe school fees for their education to go on, and also to the kids wanafaa kuwa responsible kwa labda kuhelp wazazi.
So na kama familia, how can your family support you so that you so that you don't go there? And like now as you leave the system, what kind of support would you require ndio kuwa integrated vizuri kwa community?
The support that you require is that for us to be taken to school, the first, and the parents to take good love of us and to protect us more.
Thank you so much. I will come back to you with some key recommendations.
Okay.
Angie, are you there? Are you still there? Angie.
I am here. I am here.
Hey, Angie, how are you?
Hi, I'm well.
So according to you, what are some of the push factors that push girls, and especially girls, to get into the system, like to get to get in conflict with the law, and then they get into the system? What are the push factors, and what can families do to ensure that they don't end up in the system, and also support them as they get back to the families for integration?
So I always talk about something that's called adverse childhood experiences. They're called ACEs. I'll put on our link for the people listening. One of the 10 basic questions of the original ACEs study that happened back in the 90s that are still really relevant to us today. According to research, girls who've had a lot of childhood adversity are 7 times more likely to become alcoholic, to attempt suicide, but they also have health risks of higher cancer rates, higher heart attacks. But the criminal behavior can be added to that list of negative outcomes. And they're people who are in the juvenile justice system, young people, but also adults, are associated with these higher scores of this ACE questionnaire, this ACE assessment. Childhood adversity is associated with both youth and childhood criminality. And we associate the decrease in criminal activism or reactivism to focus on some of these, to be able for us to start to focus on early childhood experiences. But it's not a life sentence. And one of the things that we've really seen is that positive relationships can alter the trajectory of trauma in girls, kids, teenagers, even adults. our brain can be rewired. And it starts by understanding how adverse childhood experiences and trauma start, and then we get good coping mechanisms, how to regulate our emotions, build positive relationships. I think what we just heard from Susan was she wanted the people in her life, her family, to care for her, to love her. That's what we all want. And when that is missing, it drives us to act out, to not sit still, to our brains start to move into fight, flight, freeze. And this is a normal response when we have been hurt by violence, hurt by poverty, even hurt by long issues of colonialism that no one ever talks about here, that is still affecting our children and our youth today. And I won't go on because I can talk about ACEs forever, but I will put in our in the chat a link where you can go and look and see your own ACE assessment, as well as your resilience assessment, and start to build from there. If you're interested, we can talk more about it, but ACEs is a really important part of this conversation.
Thank you, Angie. That's very comprehensive. Thank you for, I can see, for those who are interested in that, I think Angie has posted something on the chat that I think most of us can be able to refer to. So, and thank you for bringing up that, because I know adverse childhood trauma, it really is what I call a cycle of violence, a cycle of whatever. So if it's not dealt with at a young age, it kind of evolves into something bigger, and then you push it back to your children, and it becomes a generational thing. So, but it is up to us to stop it. I believe it just has to start with you. So moving on, so Susan, is Susan with us? Is Susan with us? Oh, Susan already spoken. You already had spoken. Sorry. So Angie, so you are supposed to speak a little bit more about the PSTD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and how it's actualized for the girls' entry into the juvenile justice system. Like how does it affect, and how does it contribute to girls being in the juvenile justice system? Angie?
So I strongly believe in PTSD. We're using this word all the time. I want us to drop two of the letters. I want us to drop the disorder. First, disorder, it comes because trauma in all people, we all face it and endure it. And it goes back to how it was defined in the 80s as a disorder. But there was a sentence at that time that said that these were normal responses to abnormal situations. If this is a response to an abnormal situation, this is not a disorder. This is our bodies protecting ourselves. But later that was dropped, and we've begun to pathologize young people's real life experiences. The other thing is, this is not post for the young women that Teresa and your team are dealing with. They go back into environments that it is not post-traumatic. These young women you're talking about are living lives every day that are not free from a violence and adversity. Let's start to talk about traumatic stress. And traumatic stress happens in all of our lives, and it comes as a way for our bodies to how we are to protect ourselves. So if we run away from something, if we fight against something, these are normal reactions. Like I said earlier, what we have to start to do is build good coping mechanisms, build resiliency in children and young people's lives so that they can regulate their emotions and they can build positive relationships. Positive relationships like what you're doing, Teresa, at Clean Start is a lifeline to every single young person who's been in fact impacted by toxic stress and PTSD as well. Oh yeah, the stress, the traumatic stress. It is something that we all face in our lives. And if we can find ways to deal with that in a normal way, we can react to it. But if we start to say, oh, this person is sick, this person is bad, this person needs to be locked away, we will end up pathologizing what is a normal response to adversity and violence.
So much, Angie. That's very enlightening that we remove the disorder. I did child development, and in my psychology class, I think it was one of the exams, and thank you so much for bringing that into light. Thank you so much. And to Sam, I know you have done so much work in research, you've done work in policy, in advocacy. So from as the organization, what has been your experience with girls impacted by juvenile justice system? And what are some of the strategies that you're using to ensure the well-being of girls? Sam?
Thank you, Jennifer. Let me pick up from where Angie has left it. So while we've been engaged at policy issues, research, I think a good number of us, including in this call, did participate in the best interest for the children in the justice system, the conference that we did in 2016 together with the government. And there's a journal in which we published some of the resources that were, papers that were presented. They were further improved in terms of presentation and shared. And we identified a number of things that came from that conference, especially the question of data, because data is very important to help us know where is the gap. Is our correctional system really working? The question of recidivism is one of those that I think we are very poor at being able to answer. And in some cases, our system has not been very effective in even knowing that when I'm supporting a child case that has been reported in Buruburu police station, the same child could be the same one we are handling in Central police station, less than 4 kilometers apart, yet we do not know exactly that is the same child we are handling. So the question of data and data gaps is really major, both in terms of improving the quality of care and case management issues, and overall informing the resource allocation, because unless the justice system is able to predict and say, this seems to be the numbers we usually handle, it's very difficult. So as an organization, some of the investment that we have done or support we are contributing towards is developing the Juvenile Justice Information Management System. And this is being done with the National Council for Administration of Justice, currently being piloted in Makadara Court Users Committee. For those who don't know, Court Users Committee is a platform that brings together various players in the justice chain. And many cases will begin with the police or the children department or the chiefs at the community level. And then it will proceed to the prosecutor's office where they are criminal and requires to proceed to the next stage. They will go perhaps to court and ultimately to probation and of course to prisons, KY, the YCTC and such. And in all this, just linking this back to what Angie was saying, I think one of the gaps that we are noticing is we don't appreciate that there are also mental health issues or conditions and challenges that could be there, both as a predisposing factor to certain behavioral issues, which will quickly be labeled as a difficult child or rebellious, or, our system doesn't know how to separate such kind of assessments and then sending someone to the rightful institution. And unfortunately, you can imagine if a lot of cases, if I have a challenge with my child who might presume to be very difficult, and this will be often 12 years, 14, 15, 16. And when you look at the data, actually a lot of our children who are in the, so to say, criminal or children in conflict with the law will be this same age group. But this is the same age where people are trying to identify with themselves, who am I? And there are things which we will do because we are children, or because we have certain mental health conditions, or because we are reacting to situations. If I'm experiencing sexual abuse by my parents repeatedly, and some of situations like that, this led to maybe someone committing or killing, and how do we then respond to such? So I think that is really a major gap in terms of the capacity of the entire system to correctly identify what is the need of the child and where to process them. And so the other thing that we are experiencing and also was noted in the BIC conference in 2016 is the emerging child protection risks and situations that may lead them to new forms of crime. So like online sexual exploitation and sexual violence or organized crime, you know, children who, or girls who will want to go and be married to this, you know, terror group leaders because of, you know, the macho issues that came out of that, and just complete unpreparedness that we have. So right from the point of how do you apply the law in addressing these matters, we are again very, very poor. I don't think we have any precedence case that has gone through in court of even managing online cases. When you talk to the police, again, a lot of, when children report a case where someone has flagged around on Facebook my nude photos, and it's because they took them without my permission, some of the reactions that we're getting from the police is, who sent you there? You know, the child, and especially girls in this case, will be seen like, you know, really labeled, and we use very uncouth words to describe them, and leaves them completely in low self-esteem. And some of these have led even to worse things like even committing suicide. So I think there's a lot of unpreparedness, basing it right from assessment to how we do case management. I don't know if I can touch a bit on what we think then should be done around addressing this from a policy point. Is that okay? Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you. So I think then the question is, with all those gaps, and unfortunately some of them have had almost 10 years attempts, like the question of data, we've tried to invest in an information management system. 3 of them have failed. We are praying that what we are piloting now will be able to work. But bottom line, we know behind everything is a human system. So what sort of human resource do we have? We've always called, and when you look at the report on status of children in the justice system that was launched by the NCAJ task force in November last year, 2019, it advocates for having a specialized police unit for child protection. There seems to be the question of passionometer, as it's once been used in this country, that beyond being paid a salary for a work, there's sort of need for people who are really passionate around supporting children and then building their capacity without having them to be transferred around. So that is one major issue that we have to think about and ask ourselves, in the entire justice system, have we equipped people who know how to handle cases of girls in the justice system, right from mental health issues to physical and psychological development issues? The other one is that we must focus on not having any child get into the system. And that begins with diversion. Can we build capacity to, you know, get cases that do not, can be handled within the community level to be handled appropriately, and their diversion guidelines? But again, are we even very sensitive to that and doing that very intentionally from the beginning to avoid them going there? 2 other things which I think are very important to think about going policy is thinking about a community rehabilitation and reintegration program. I know our probation department is doing a pretty good job, but again, can communities be involved? How do we encourage a collaboration between community-based organization and the justice system, the formal justice system? Because again, a lot of things have demonstrated that a lot of cases, over 90% of cases that involve children, will be handled within community. Think about the caregiver who's leaving the rehabilitation institution, the remand home after many years, and going back into a community. Again, only an effective community system can do that. And we need to see some sort of resources being allocated to groups like Clean Start directly from Treasury, because that will help us have more sustainable investment rather than waiting on funding. Lastly, that really what works in protecting girls and children, for that matter, from getting into the justice system is building self-esteem. I think, like I said, some of these and other panelists have indicated are behavioral issues that will happen for any teenager. You know, some of us are where we are not because we were more careful, purely by some grace. And self-esteem is very critical because the decisions on what I want to do. I remember when I was younger, our first attempt to sit down as young men in a Simba, you know, we had someone trying to roll around bang, and I didn't know that was bang, but I quickly sensed that I was able to say no, but I don't know what it would have been if I said yes. So really, the question of helping young people to overcome some behavioral challenges that will lead them into problem begins with the family. Can the family help children build self-esteem? Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Sam. That's very, very enlightening. Issues to do with policy and issues to do with advocacy and issues to do with data. Data, I'm very passionate about data, and it's true, we don't have enough data for the juvenile justice system in Kenya. And I think you will agree with Angie that most of the children who get themselves, we don't have that data, but a friend of mine has actually done a research. Children who find themselves in the juvenile justice, it's not because they are criminals, it's because they have just done what teenagers do, you know, and probably they have a mental issue, but we don't have that data, so we cannot be able to make that decision. Thank you so much, Sam, for that. I'm so used to muting myself, so I muted myself and started talking by myself. So the next question goes to Tina and Madam Tina and Madam Clara. So you actually are the primary caregivers when it comes to children in the juvenile justice, especially the girls. What are the challenges do you experience while taking care of these girls? Okay, and what issues do you have to address with them? You know, what are some of these things they feel it's not being addressed, but you think it needs to be addressed? Madam Clara and Madam Tina. Madam Clara, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
In dealing with the girls in the institution, I want to say, like, when they enter the institution, we have to talk about their exit.
Go ahead, Clara.
So when the girls enter the institution, we have to know about their exit. So sometimes when we are dealing with them, we deal with non-supportive parents. So that when we are through with the through care in the institution, when we are dealing now with their integration, they are stigmatized. Like even from the family level, even the community, if the child had stolen, maybe had been committed because of stealing, you find they think that child is still a thief. So at times also we face the challenge of we lack debriefing sessions as caregivers, where like we listen to their issues of the children. Some are very traumatic. We internalize the issues, and as caregivers, we lack where to pour our issues. So that is a main challenge for us in the institution. And children, sometimes we face children cases like where we are done with their integration and where they are stigmatized and they are not really accepted within the family, they find their way back to the institution on their own, not even through the juvenile justice system. So that is a major challenge to us. Sometimes we deal with girls who are very aggressive, they are very rebellious, others are withdrawn, they don't want to share their issues. For you as a caregiver, you see the child has some issues, but there is no way you can force maybe to open up and share their issues. So sometimes maybe we refer to specialists like counselors. For us, we have basic counseling trainings, but when we face a challenge of when we admit a girl who has abused drugs, those who have experienced some traumatic experiences outside, and we are limited, maybe we only have basic counseling. So if we could have like special counseling sessions for them, we could be able to deliver as caregivers. So sometimes we are forced maybe to refer to like Nairobi Women's, even Childline for counseling. Those are the challenges we face at our center.
Okay, thank you very much. For us as Kenya Prison Service, I want to say that we appreciate the support. And being a uniformed service, I think we have minimum challenges in dealing with the girls when they're in our facility. At times, I even tend to think if their rehabilitation or reformation is due to the position or the condition or they will continue to be changed children after release, because as uniformed staff, we have our own way of dealing with the children. But the challenge still remains that some of the girls have stayed out of school for long. And as I said earlier, our work is to provide 3 years training, our mandate. So I'm ordered to provide training for these children, but some of them will skip classes, will be like, they wouldn't really love being in a formal education, whatever, in the institution. But every time, because we have professional teachers, counselors, they would always come in, talk to them, and then with time they join in and they're able to actually participate in the programs. The positive thing that I say has assisted us as the Boston is that we have worked very close with the committing institutions, and in particular the probation services. We have been applying the through care guidelines in whatever way we in our programs with the children. And in such, every time a child comes in with the initial report, we are in communication with the probation officer who did the report and who was actually involved in committing the girl in the Boston institution. And the back and forth reports through care procedures and guidelines, we are able to even contact the family. So the integration of a child in our Boston institution starts from the day the child is admitted, because we use the report, which the court actually uses to decide on placing the girl in a Boston institution, to actually tailor a treatment program for that child, which include counseling, include the formal programs, including psychosocial psychotherapy and other services within our institution. The institution also has professional staff who are uniformed staff, P1 teachers, graduate teachers, technical up to diploma. We have the grade 1 tailors and whatever who actually handle these girls. So I can say that yes, we might have some challenges here and there, but in our institution, and of course we have a few children committed in our institution because of whatever I said earlier, that we only deal with the delinquents, the juveniles who have repeatedly committed criminal offenses and cannot fit in where Clara is or other institutions. So we have fewer children. We don't have the problem of congestion. And then I'm saying the structure of administration also, the fact that we are uniformed, I think tones down all the challenges. And of course, the support from our Commissioner General and our Principal Secretary, who always comes in to support us in terms of funding, we appreciate. I cannot say that we have a major challenge as Kamai Girls Boston. We are good to go. I appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Tina. That's very important to know that you have systems that support these girls as they go through reform, because I believe it's reform. They can be able to be, we have seen girls who have come out and they become better. So, Wamboi, I think you've heard what all these guys have said. And the report by Plan International, I think it was launched last year in October, about the law and the girl. And the report showed that the law in Africa, I'm going to speak in the African context, is gender biased, that it does not speak to the woman, to the woman or to the girl, that it's very, you find some laws criminalize you because of being a girl. So as civil society organizations, what is being done? What are you doing as civil society to promote the overall well-being of girls impacted by juvenile justice system, taking in cognizance that some of the laws actually criminalize you from being a girl? Omboi?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly. I think I lost you at some point. So on your question, one, I think not only civil society organizations, but I would say that this is a role that all the partners have to play. we do have, for example, the project that we did in partnership with Clean Start and KEPSA and the government of Nairobi, and the government and the Ministry of Labor and Social Services. We could see the significant role of each partner that played, especially when it came to the project. If I can just give you some highlights of this. So this project, and I think Teresa mentioned it in the start, preventing violent extremism for children in conflict with the law in Kenya. One of the significant roles that we could see, especially from the civil society, which in this part was Clean Start, was that they came in to assist in the SPEAR program, where they trained girls on soft and life skills. And this is a very significant input to the project, because UNODC was coming in with the expertise on preventing violent extremism. And within this project, we could also see the private sector. We had partnered with KEPSA coming to give business mentorship for girls. So the training involved not only soft and life skills, but there was also entrepreneurship. And so we saw the private sector come and step in as well. And KEPSA provided some business mentorship for these girls who are in conflict with the law. So when they exit, they're able to be placed in some of the companies according to their interests. Then we also partnered with USIU, United States International University. So this is academia. So academia came on board to actually provide peer-to-peer mentorship, and they volunteered their time to come and interact with the girls and also learn and also give them some of their experiences. So what happened is that these girls could see girls who are just like them, who have reached the university level and who are studying and have dreams. And so this motivated them that they could actually get to where these other girls were. And it gave them confidence even to open up to these girls. So every partner, depending on what their expertise are or what they do, all have an important role to play. As I mentioned before, also the society also have a very, very huge role to play, whether it's through the churches who can provide the counseling, whether it's through religious organizations as well, whether we're looking at women groups who come together. I think every partner in this specific issue on building the capacity of girls in conflict with the law have a specific role to play. So, so I think how we can work together is that we need to all find a way, and we need to create a platform where we can all come together and identify synergies in our work. But again, the UN cannot do it alone. The government cannot do it alone. We all have to move forward together. The other thing that I think is also quite important is on the policies, which I know we've had a couple of discussions with different partners on what kind of policies are suitable, especially for girls, to ensure that girls are being kept out of the system, to ensure that girls have been given opportunities even before they get into the criminal justice system. So some of these policies are very important so that we ensure that we don't have to wait until they say prevention is better than cure. So we don't have to wait for these girls to get into the system. We can obviously have and develop interventions that can target these girls even when they're out. And even when they're coming up. So I think partnerships are very important, and for UNODC, we're always open to see how we can collaborate with different like-minded organizations to ensure that we're not only supporting the rehabilitation of girls, but then we're also preventing them from getting into the system.
Thank you very much, Wambui. Sam, I want you to jump in onto what Wambui has said. nobody can do it by themselves, you know. And I know you, AICS is a secretariat of a local coalition of civil society organizations in Kenya. So I want you to tell us, like, what can you do for pre, during, and post institution for girls? What and just to help them in their well-being. Sam?
Thank you. Yes, indeed, we are secretariat to the Children Agenda Forum, and we've also had a very successful use of online platform on WhatsApp that has brought together a number of non-profits on NGOs and government, literally doing case management and improve the care for children, including girls, pre-institutionalization in the justice system and post. So I think there's definitely space for collaborative work. But I also think ultimately we must always remind the government that they collect taxes and they do have responsibility from a rights-based approach. So I look at civil society role in terms of really emphasizing and building capacity for the rights holders. So like what Clean Start is doing, going into these institutions, empowering the young girls to appreciate what are their roles, what are their rights, and what can they do in still being able to reintegrate back into the community. Those are very, very important things. But at the same time, building capacity like we are addressing right now and doing collaborative work with government institutions to be able to have effective capacity to meet these rights. Having mentioned about the importance of a rights-based approach, I think public financing is very critical. Unfortunately, a lot of programs that involve children, including in the justice system, have the least funding from the Treasury. And that's really unfortunate because, like Angie already mentioned, that ultimately as a society, we will be as good as the investment we've done in our children. You can't be better than what you invested as a country in your children. So we can only break those cycles and get a better community by ensuring that we have the right amount of investment in prisons, in the probation, and even at the community level to do other things. Lastly, I think we do have a key role as civil society organization in doing model interventions. And on this, things like stigma, supporting caregivers, and let me also correct, even in terms of mental health, and Angie has correctly put it, we're not saying that every child who gets into conflict with the law is necessarily having a mental health issue. But there are mental health issues around the entire care continuum that needs to be covered. How do you do that in a most cost-effective way, and then ultimately pass this over to the government for scale up? So there's definitely a lot of need and opportunity for that. And perhaps if you allow me as my parting shot, as I go into another meeting, that yes, we welcome this and we really hope that we can have a clear way of engaging right at the community level. And the area advisory councils should be very active on children so that then we can have a joint initiative and implement the plan of actions that we jointly develop and not leave them as papers. Thank you.
Sam, you can't leave before answering this question because you're the only man in the panel. So the question is, how can juvenile justice system be more gender responsive? As I've mentioned, there's a report by Plan International that shows that laws in Africa criminalize the girl. They're not for the girl child. That makes them become more vulnerable being arrested or getting into the system because of things that are beyond their control because they were born or they were created as women, as girls. So how can the juvenile justice be more gender responsive?
Thanks for that. And maybe besides being the only man here, I don't know whether we are a third or we are breaching the constitution. Anyone, I like not. But I'm also a father, and in my household, I'm still the minority. I have 3 girls and 1 boy. And I keep thinking about my girls as they're growing up and asking myself, if I'm not there or they find themselves in certain situations, what will be this thing that will really help them pull through any situation they come across? And I think addressing stereotypes is critical within communities. Like I said earlier on, there are things, if a boy is smoking bang in the neighborhood, maybe it's not as bad as when the girl is smoking it. And sometimes making it appear like when the girl does something, then it's completely incorrigible. You can never correct them and get them back. So I think looking at a community and a justice system that encourages restorative justice rather than punitive, and things that just want to make you, leave you feeling like you are a complete loaf of bread, nothing useful, is something we've got to correct right from the community level, going all the way into how the justice mechanism also addresses the girls who come into contact with the justice system.
Thank you, Sam. That's a good parting shot. So I think Teresa, she answers this question, can let you go. I don't have the power to let you go. Teresa, I just, from your experience, how can the juvenile justice system be more responsive, be gender responsive? Teresa, just for a minute.
Yeah, I think from the very beginning, the criminal justice system and the way it was set up was very male dominated. So right from the police station, when you're put in there, it's not friendly towards females, young girls, all the way to prisons, because we never even used to have correctional institutions for girls, for women, you know. It's not sensitive to the needs of women and girls. Even in court, it's very intimidating because you're surrounded by, you know, the prosecution, the magistrates. It's very intimidating to women and to girls. But, you know, we're all coming together, doing the best we can to change this, to put into consideration issues that affect especially these young girls. And as Sam has said, it's esteem issues, it's behavioral issues during their teenage years. And culturally, you know, culturally as well, practices that, you know, it's okay for the boy to do that, but it's not okay for the girl. And she's judged and treated very harshly all across, even within the juvenile justice system. The harsh, you know, as Sam has said, the harsh treatment and stigmatization of this girl when they become pregnant, when they leave the juvenile justice institutions, becoming a mother so young, and so much more. So she carries such a load from such a young age. I really like the comments that Sam has made. We will definitely allow him to leave for now. We'll definitely continue being in touch, and thank you so much for the platform that you have created, where, you know, the civil society and other non-governmental organizations have come together to look into how to attend to children matters and matters such as this that we're addressing here. Thank you, and all the best in your next meeting.
Thank you, Teresa. So Susan, is Susan still with us?
Yes, I'm still.
Hi, Susan. So Susan,
yeah.
So I want us to talk about education. You know, you were in the institution, and
yeah.
Did you have access to quality education? And is it equitable? Like, kila mtu alikuwa anapata kani vitabu mbili, kila mtu kwa watoto wawili. Look, what type of education were you accessing in the system?
In education, kwa masomo we were so low. Books were being given textbooks were so enough for us, but the teachers were few for us to go and have the consultation. So we were not able to reach the teachers for the consultations, for the questions.
So, I'm going to, ouch, my eye. So Clara, so what are some of the skills, or what are some of the things that you give to these girls so that they can be skilled, you know, so that as they transition out of the system, they are skilled. They're not just living there empty. They have spent maybe 3 years of their lives doing nothing, maybe just cutting grass. Clara, what are some of the skills that you give to these girls? Susan has just said that the books were there, but there are no teachers, you know. So how do you make sure that the girls come out better than they came in? Clara? Madam Clara? Is she with us? Okay, Madam Tina? Madam Tina?
Yes, I can get you.
Okay, Madam Clara, did you hear my question? So what skills do you give to girls to ensure that they are better than they came in? You know, Susan has just told us that books are there, but they're not teachers. So what are you giving to the girls so that they come out better than they came in, so that they can be able to transition better to the community? If they're going back to school, they're not left behind, so that they're able to go on, then they don't feel as if there's that detachment so much from their current life.
Okay, can I react to that?
Let's go ahead, Madam Tina. I think Madam Clara is not around here.
Clara, I don't know, but what I can say, and that is maybe, I can call it my success story with Kamai Girls Boston. The limitations, the challenges, and the scarcity of resources in government institutions are the same. All the time we are provided, yes, but the inadequacy is the problem of the challenge when it comes to fulfilling the needs of all the girls.
Madam Tina, are you there? You are muted.
Yeah, I'm saying,
challenge
of the resources. I made sure that during time at Kamai's Boston, I networked with the NGOs that did a great job in supporting the education of the girls, and other organizations, other faith-based organizations. And what they did is that every time I had a need in terms of books, even the laboratory, I could write to NGOs, I could write to state institutions, schools around, and every time we called upon them and approached them in the right way, they would donate these items to us as Kamai girls. I can remember during my tenure, we didn't have a good laboratory, because whatever we had was actually a mobile laboratory for the girls. And we could go to Kamiti Secondary School, allow the girls to do their practicals, and we could come back and every girl would get what others are getting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Clara, Madam Clara.
Because what they, about juvenile. Hello?
Yeah, go on, go on.
I can say that. Hello?
Yes, go on, we're listening.
Yeah, I'm saying what juvenile justice and the girls in our institutions is offered back in the community. Because in such, the formal education do the same.
I think
exams which are done outside our schools are registered. Girls do the meter exam. Sorry, this is Western Kenya. We have a heavy storm, lightning and thunder. So I think I can stop there.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chima. We understand technology and sometimes rain don't go together. So, Wamboi had to leave.
Yes. Let me stop there kindly.
Okay. So as we wrap up, I just want to go back to Susan. Susan, I want you to give recommendations, because for me, I don't believe holding webinars for the sake of women, especially for the International Day of the Girl. The theme is your voice, your equal future. Okay? Yeah. As a girl who has gone through the system, what are the 2 recommendations that you'd want to give? One, we have Madam Tina and Madam Clara here. We have Madam Teresa, and I'm sure there are quite a number of government. I can see in the list some government people who have joined this conversation. And there's also, I'm going to go watch it on Facebook or YouTube later. What are the 2 key recommendations that you'd want to give to government, to NGOs, to the Boston institutions or to the remand homes or the rehabilitation centers? What are the two recommendations that you want to give to ensure that your voice is actually an equal, for your equal future? It is to better your future. Susan?
Thank you so much. What I'd like to give as my recommendation is that more teachers must be added in rehabilitation schools, in juvenile, remand, because there we need more teachers, because in maybe sometimes when you need a consultation to the teacher, you might get 5 to 6 pupils on one teacher, and yet teachers are like 3 teachers. So you see, like, you cannot go there. You may say, let me go to that teacher sometimes. Now the time that you'll go to the teacher says that I am off, I like to go and get rest, you see. So I like more teachers to be added for the teachers, for the pupils to feel more confident and more comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm moving to Angie. What are the 2 recommendations that you'd want to give to just to ensure that children, especially those ones who are coming out or in the institution, have a well-being? You know, for me, I believe well-being, if they're able to thrive, something I call thrival, so that there's thrival for these children. What are the 2 key recommendations that you can give, Angie?
My main recommendation is, how do we develop trauma-informed and trauma-responsive systems and structures? One of the issues that we face in the juvenile justice system, in our schooling system, pretty much in almost every system that we have in this country, is that trauma is the unrecognized boogeyman in the corner that we're not addressing. And so we have to actually have that lens. We need to understand that the majority of things that we talk about as mental illness and disorders and stigmatize people about come from what they've experienced. It's not about what is wrong with you, but it's rather what has happened to you. And if we can lead in the juvenile justice system and in many other places in our society with the question of what has happened to you in your life, we start with a very different perspective. And I think that gives us a different place. And it's trauma-informed and trauma-responsive systems that can actually start to make those changes.
Thank you, Angie. Madam Clara, I know you work in the system, and I'm sure you always say, I wish they could just do this one thing or these 2 things. What are those 2 key things that you'd want to recommend that needs to be done to improve the way the girls live, and also to just make your work much easier? Madam Clara, are you with us?
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Because my screen is misbehaving. I don't see anyone.
Yeah, we can't see you. I think the camera is off, but we can, yeah, just go on. It's fine.
So I think for us to work better, we talk of resources. And as I echo what Susan has said, resources include personnel. So like for the education, when you deal with the children and you want to rehabilitate the children education-wise, and they are not teachers, we are not able to deliver. So if we can be given resources in terms of finances to enable us conduct like the through care guidelines and aftercare, we'll be a better institution for children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clara. Madam Tina, has the thunderstorm gone? Are you able to respond?
Yes, I can get you. There are 2 things that that I'd like them done for us to perform and deliver better. To me, one is about the reintegration, that the government should invest much in reintegration of the girls, because through my experience in Kamai, sometimes you do a lot to ensure that the girls get the resources, they get the best trainers, but when they go outside there, sometimes they will have challenges in getting school fees and even support to continue with whatever you actually spent a lot of your time and resources to give at the Boston institution. Then the second one is generally that in our youthful institutions, like the Boston Institution and the YCTC, what I'd like to see the government do is that they should make them more child-friendly and be professional in terms of the interest of the children, like improving in their general facilities, the training, the expansion of the training wing, like having more of these courses so that the children can choose from a wide array of courses which they can do than having, say,
I think the thunderstorm has struck again. Madam Justina, I'm being told Wamboi is still with us. Wamboi, as you answer this, as you give your recommendation, can you just let us know, like, what are the pathways of reintegration that are available that some of us would want to start implementing some of these projects can be able to follow? Wamboi?
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm not sure whether I think my video is working, but yeah, so thank you so much. Unfortunately, I will have to leave after this, but I think it's been amazing hearing from all the other panelists. And so I just want to emphasize and maybe retaliate what the other panelists have said. So 2 things on reintegration. One is that clearly, from our experience, there is a challenge when it comes to girls reintegrating back to the society after they have been rehabilitated in the justice system. And so we actually would like to see ways or to find ways where we can provide a safe space for girls that can be able, a temporary structure where they can be able to be housed until the age of 18, where they can continue with their education, they can continue with the training, and also the some of the trainings that they've been going through, and then they can be released back to the community. So that is one of the recommendations. And of course, this is a recommendation that has to be discussed both with the government and the civil society organizations. And of course, it will be based on research and some of the assessments that UNODC has been carrying out across the country. Secondly, is on the issue of the stigma and the society. There need to be sensitization of the society so that when these girls finally go back to the society, how are they welcomed back? So there need to be a sensitization, and this is where the media comes in. How are we perceiving these young girls? How are we welcoming them back to the society? So there needs to be capacity building and training, and of course, sensitization, and of course, a campaign to ensure that we are actually really reducing the stigma that these girls face when they exit. And thirdly, and I think most panelists have talked about this, and I think I mentioned this in the other session, was the importance of partnerships. This is very important, especially on the issue of reintegration, because the UN can provide their expertise. The Kenya government, through the justice system, can be able to, provide, trainings and rehabilitation programs. But at the same time, the society definitely does have a role to play. This is why it's important, and I'm emphasizing on partnerships. We all have a role to play in this. So my parting shot would be, let us work together. Let us identify where the synergies are. Let us bring together our expertise and our resources so that we're able to change the lives of these girls. And with that being said, I just want to excuse myself, and I wish you a fruitful end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Wamboi. Thank you so much for staying up this long, and I really do appreciate your contribution. And as we wrap up this, I'm just going to allow like two people to ask questions, just two people, the first two hands up. I'm going to allow you to talk, and I'll start with a question that is in the chat box from Daniel. Daniel has said, what happens after reaching 18 years of age for those who are in the Boston institution? Madam Tina, are you back from the thunderstorm? Is she back?
It seems like we lost Madam Tina. So,
completely, okay.
Yeah, maybe
Madam Clara.
Kirui.
Yeah, Madam Clara, are you able to respond to that question? As I wait for the first two hands up as we go on. Madam Clara, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. So the question is, from Daniel, is what happens after reaching 18 years of age for those who are in Boston institutions?
Yeah, maybe I can speak for rehabilitations. So for cases, like when a child has reached 18 years, we do the reintegration or the release from the institution. But there are some cases where children can attain the age of 18 and we can't trace their families. So we are forced at times to stay with the children and maybe link up with partners to TVET courses to continue as we continue tracing for their families.
Thank you so much, Madam Clara. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us. I think there are no more questions. The question that was here has been answered by Angie already on text. The question was stigma of the child most of the time is strong, and the child is released. There is little social support, and are there options for children who are being rejected by families, which is crucial to reintegration? And Angie has responded, this is none of the most important aspects. Social relationships are healing and must be there when girls are reintegrated. However, we better support girls and their families. If the family is not how we are as a society do it, the more healthy relationships a child has, the more likely she will recover from trauma and thrive. Relationships are the agents of change and the most powerful therapy in human love. So thank you so much, Angie, for that response. And thank you for every one of us who have stayed for this long. I know since 3 o'clock to this is 5 o'clock. Madam Tina, you're back. There was a question for you. Is she back? Where is she? Madam Tina? Madam Tina, are you able to speak? I think she's not able to speak. So thank you so much, all of us who have stayed for the last 2 hours for this very important conversation. For me, this is one of the conversations that we need to have it over and over again until children in the juvenile justice system have a right, because they have the same rights as children who are not in the juvenile justice system. The fact that they are inside there does not negate the fact that they have rights. So I'm going to hand this meeting back to Teresa to give vote of thanks, or is, I'm not sure if the person who was supposed to give is she there? Madam Rebecca Mumo?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Jennifer.
Okay,
Madam. I hope you can see me and I hope you can hear me.
Okay, let me see if I can see you. Yes, I can see you now. I was not seeing you before, so I thought you had left. Madam Mumo, I just want you to give us some closing remarks and vote of thanks as we wrap up.
Thank you so very much, Jennifer. And I totally agree with you that this has been a very important conversation. Not only important, but it's actually been very, very insightful. I could hardly tell that 2 hours had gone. And I really, really want to thank you, Jennifer, first and foremost, for moderating this webinar so well and steering the conversations extremely well. So thank you very much, Jennifer, for being such an excellent moderator. And to our panelists, Madam Tina, Madam Clara, Wamboi, Sam, Angie, and Susan. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experiences with us. And thank you for helping us just unpack the juvenile justice system, giving us insights on what the girls go through before they get into the institutions, and the challenges that they face while they're there, the traumas they go through, the family issues that happen, you know, before they get into the institutions, and the stigma that they face, the girls face when they go back into the community, the issues and the challenges that they have with reintegrating back into the community. So thank you very much to our panelists for unpacking all that and so much more. I know all of us are leaving this place extremely enlightened and with a lot of information on what goes around in the juvenile justice system and the challenges that our girls have. A special thank you to Susan for agreeing to come on to this webinar and for being vulnerable and sharing with us her experiences as someone who has gone directly through the juvenile justice system. So thank you very much, Susan. And we wish you the best even as you continue on with your education in the formal stream. It's been a long session, but I really, really want to thank all our attendees. The ladies and gentlemen who have gone through these 2 hours, I'm sure you've all been extremely patient, but I am sure you'll agree with me that it was worth the while. And like me, I'm sure you are all leaving here very enlightened. And not only enlightened, but I think from what we have all heard today, we need to stand up for our girls. These are our daughters, these are our sisters, and just champion, be out there to advocate for them. Be the voice for these voiceless girls. A voice to the government. We've heard that, you know, the government has to do a few things to provide teachers for these girls in the institutions, to give through care for those who are taking care of them. So let's be champions. Let's be advocates for these girls. Let's stand up for them. Let's help them. Let's be the voice that will sensitize the community, that will sensitize the society for them, and a voice to the world for them. Yeah, so I just want to thank you all. I want to thank our partners, some of them who are attending the call, the webinar. I'm sure some of them have been here in listening to all that is going on. So for those who, our partners and our friends who have been attending, thank you very much for being with us. For those who are representing our partners, Kenya Prison Service, Madam Tina, please convey our appreciation to all that, the support that Kenya Prisons Department gives us. Madam Clara, the Children's Department is a great supporter, a great partner. We thank them through you. Please convey our gratitude. Wamboi, UNODC is such an amazing partner, and we just want to appreciate them, and through you, please convey our appreciation. And all our other partners who are here or who are represented here, please convey our appreciation and gratitude for all the support that we have we get from them. If you have any questions, I know maybe we didn't have enough time to take questions, and maybe you are still pondering about certain issues, please feel free to contact us. Through our social platform. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, all of them at Clean Start Kenya. So please feel free to communicate with us. Finally, last but not least, I would like to thank the team that has been working tirelessly to make sure that this webinar is a success. I know there have been a few hitches here and there, but that comes with technology. But thank you so very much, the team, our team, for realizing this webinar for us and making sure that it's gone smoothly. Nyambura and team, kudos. Thank you very much. So finally, on behalf of our host, Teresa Njoroge, and the entire Clean Start team, I want to thank you all very much for being patient and joining us this afternoon, which has now gone into the evening, for being with us and just going through this wonderful session today. We wish you well, we wish you God's blessings, and we invite you to continue interacting with us at Clean Start. You can get us on our social platform, as I said, and also on our, I forget the word, Nyambura, help me. Yeah, you can get us through our social platform. So please feel free, if you have our poster, all our contacts are there. So thank you very much. God bless you. And I think now I can declare the webinar officially closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. I thought, what's her name? Teresa was going to come and say bye before we go. So, yes, but
yeah.
Teresa, are you still with us? Is she there?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you so very much, Rebecca, for conveying our gratitude. So grateful to Jennifer, Angie, Sarah, Wamboi, Sam, yeah, and of course our special Madam Tina, of course, and our special guest today, Susan, for coming to represent the girl. It's our due pleasure, and just like my colleague Rebecca has said, let's continue this conversation. We really need to talk so much more about how we can support this girl. And this International Day of the Girl 2020, we hope that this webinar makes this girl seen, heard, and represented. All our panelists have talked about stigma, have talked about education issues for this girl. Mental health is another issue that has come up. And we at Clean Start have experienced where we took girls from the statutory institutions and were denied spaces in the mainstream education, which must stop. There are girls who need our support, just like Angie and Sam have brought it out. There are girls who need our support, who need our love. It takes a village to take care of our children. So we all have something to do, and as Wamboi kept insisting, partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. So let's get together and do justice to this girl. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's our sign off. And thank you all of you for sticking on. And you go to the Clean Start Twitter. They are very active on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and they have an amazing website. Please just go and check them out. And thank you so much, Teresa, for giving us this opportunity, for just to have this conversation and just to moderate. And for all the speakers, thank you, Angie. We are very good friends on Twitter, but we've never met face to face. Thank you so much. Susan, you're a star, and never forget about that. You're a star, and no one should dim your light, okay? Thank you so much to Sam and Wamboi in absentia for just joining this conversation. Thank you, Madam Tina and Madam Clara, from coming out from your very, very busy schedule. And thank you, Teresa, again. Bye-bye, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Bye.
Bye, and thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.